Okay, let's talk today about the Biden campaign. Peter, optimistic or pessimistic about the state of it?
Pessimistic. I think he's had a bad few days. There was a headline in the Washington Post that indicated that said essentially Trump attacks, Biden turns the other cheek again. And he had a online meeting with three governors to discuss the COVID problem, and it was a disaster. Not so much from the content, which he bungled, but from the production values. And you want to say, what are they doing? Why can't they get the lighting right? Why can't they get his background right? Why can't they get someone with makeup to get in there? I mean, it just seems very unprofessional and unfocused.
Thurgood, do you think that that is what he should be doing now? Just staying low, staying underground, or time to up the amp?
I'm still comfortable with waiting for a broader opportunity to get out and about. And so while I agree with Peter, this has not been a great few days for the campaign. Overall, I remain optimistic. I think hopefully you don't have a lot more days as we've had over the past week, but production issues are hopefully something that get tied down fairly soon. Hopefully they continue to raise the funds that they need, because the more he stays locked in, the more they're going to need to have a real media bang on the back end of this process as we get closer to the election. And hopefully we get to a period where things like these will be regarded as not huge problems, and perhaps not even memories. But if you look closely, maybe we look back on this as a period where there were some hiccups that they jumped on quickly and resolved. And the big things are coming with a running mate announcement another month or two away, and hopefully some chance to get some serious media coverage. But as Steve, as you and I have said in the past, and I know Peter agrees, it's very difficult for anyone who's not in an executive leadership position now to gain any attention, even as people begin to emerge into public a little more. It's still a game where all the eyes are focused on what the nation's leaders are doing in the executive mansions in the White House and in the governor's mansions to keep things under control and keep the movement toward a broader opening on a rational level.
So, Peter, what would you have Biden do?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think he ought to do these things that he's been, trying to do. Just do them well. Don't try, for instance, if you're going to have a three-way discussion with governors about COVID-19, make sure that, out of sight of the camera, you have the right numbers put up. It's not 82 million deaths, it's 82,000 deaths. And that's a big gaffe. That's like when he announces his vice president, he gets her name wrong. You really, it's becoming a standard that Biden may not be fully capable of doing this job. And the end result is people are still going to vote for him, but they're going to look very carefully at that vice president to make sure that she has the ability to step in.
Okay, so maybe just close and get back to a point you made, Peter, where you said that Biden has been, successfully tagged as bumbling and, out of touch. Is there any way to overcome that? Is there a way, or is now every gaffe going to just be jumped on by Trump, jumped on by the Republicans, and that the campaign is going to have to give some? How does the campaign deal with it?
Well, first of all, they've got to do better. I mean, if they know he has problems with names and numbers, if I'm sitting there facing the camera as I am tonight, just out of view, you have whiteboards with the numbers and the names. So as he looks at the camera, he can stay in touch with what the facts are. But it's not just Trump. It's not just the political operatives that work for him. It's also Fox News and talk radio. I mean, this is an echo chamber that really is tagging him. And I watched Fox News for the last week, and they were all over him. And I think he's going to do better. And if he can't do better, they've got to figure out an environment and a campaign style that allows him to shine. In 1984, the Reagan people figured that out for their candidate. We better figure it out for ours.
So, Steve, on this point, I think Peter's hit on some serious challenges for them. As you know, I am not inside their strategy sessions, but I do wonder whether, at this point, whether there's a question or a pro and con battle going on inside about how heavily to script him and whether that affects his performance. Because sometimes you see with candidates that what you get from scripting, which is fewer gaffes, hopefully, what you get from scripting is someone who looks too scripted.
Yeah, inauthentic.
And a number of candidates can work through that, but it's possible that they've concluded that he's got to be allowed the freedom to wing it at times. And I think, unfortunately, what the gaffes have demonstrated that they need to find a better balance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the next time we talk, a week from now, the U.S., is going to have hit a tragic number of probably 100,000 deaths. And I mean, I think you've got to focus on that. We should not be at that number. That is what the Biden campaign should be focusing on. Make it a referendum on the fact that we should not have had 100,000 deaths in the United States. They're sitting here in Singapore. You just see mistake after mistake after mistake being made in the U.S. that hasn't been made in so many different countries outside. And can the campaign make that the central question, as opposed to Biden and, is he getting the number right or wrong? I hope they can do that.
Yeah. Well, isn't that the speculation about why finally President Obama spoke out this weekend? That perhaps he felt as though the Biden campaign was missing an opportunity. And if no one else was going to raise the issue of the utter and sheer incompetency from top to bottom of this administration, then he was going to do it. And I certainly appreciated the president speaking out. I hope Mr. Biden was listening.
Yeah, one of his standard game plays here out of the White House is to blame anyone and everyone for any shortcomings. And he's already been for over a month now blaming that number as it goes up on his predecessor, on the Democratic Party, the House leadership, anybody but anyone on his team. So that's going to continue. And then at the very least, the Biden campaign needs to be doing something to jujitsu that argument back onto the White House where it belongs as a blame factor.
All right, well, let's see next week when I ask the question, did Biden have a good week or a bad week, if we have a different answer.
Let's hope so.
I'm crossing my fingers.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Good night, Steve.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good morning.